17 car, SSM field. It's John Grayor out driving the RP Performance number 40. Starts 17. As the lights are out on the pace car heads to the pit lane, turning the field over to Colin Murchison, your pole sitter today. Murchison finished second in a very exciting race in the wet and in the rain. Here, he's going to start right alongside Chris Kelly as the starter waves the green flag. And we are underway, and we have multiple cars off track here on the front straight. And that is, well, I'm sure that is going to cause a full course caution as our leaders head down into turn one. And now they have not given them the full course caution yet, as Colin Murchison ahead of Chris Kelly now coming out of turn two, making the run down to turn three. We've got the red Jordy Fuhrman now running in third and running in fourth there. Chasm in the 98 car as they come through turn three and make their way over the course of the hill. And I think they're going to let them race here, at least down to the bottom half of the course, as most of our race cars have been able to get by. We still have at least one here on the front string. We'll get the numbers in just a moment, as we are now going to a black flag condition. We saw this earlier today, and when black flag is out, no passing, and all of our racers then return to the pits. All right, pace car now. Safety car, pardon me. Actually, I guess we'll call it a pace car because I think we're starting from scratch, bringing the field out onto the track. And I'm not going to run down the whole grid. We got it sitting right on the side of the screen there for you. As cars come across the line, that should be the correct order. Again, we are essentially going to be restarting this race, but with a single file restart, which is definitely to Colin Murchison's advantage. Here, going to be a lot easier to control the field coming out of the final corner, and it means that Christopher Kelly, he's got to make up a whole car length plus in order to get ahead of the number 58 machine, as opposed to starting right alongside him.
Yeah, and of course he's got Arif Kazan right behind him. We've seen them work with each other at a couple events this year, because Arif, I would say during qualifying, though, he would work with Colin a lot, but since Colin hasn't raced since March, Arif has gotten really good at working with Chris Kelly, so I'm sure both of them know what the goal is. Even Jordy, a lot of these drivers know what the goal is. Colin Murchison is fast in that car, and you want to get around Colin Murchison as quick as you can, because if you kind of take your time, or everyone's battling behind him, he will run away. And we saw him do that at March, where he got out front, basically the top 2 and 3 were all battling with each other. Next thing you know, Colin Murchison had a 5-second lead at the end of the race.
Yeah, exactly, and nobody can touch him at that point, indeed. All right, as they head down the hill, lights still on. We'll probably see the lights go out on the pace car right around turn 7. That's been the point where they've been shutting them down all day. Got a word, a couple of the folks on the starter stand suggested that some of the other corners watch the hood of the Blue 72 Chase Kovac, as the hood seems to be fluttering around a little bit and may have been loosened up a little bit from the impact here at the original start for this race. So we'll continue to watch. A lot of these Mazda Miatas, they don't have separate hood pins and hood latches that they use. The standard safety hood latches that come from the factory from Mazda, which in most cases are more than adequate for these types of race cars. Yeah, we'll see. We'll watch that 72 car. There he is, right in the midfield. Kovac currently sitting 8th in the line. All right, and it does look like as we check the drivers that may not be back with us. I think John Gray or possibly Richard Ferry, Nathan. Well, tell you what, we're going to wait until they come around and let this race restart, as the field now makes their way down the front straight, and green flag is in the air, and we're back to racing here once again at Summit Point, and the clock, it is starting and counting down for 40 minutes, so we're going to have the full complement, we think, here of laps, as Murchison defends the inside, pulling right up alongside on the outside is Christopher Kelly in the yellow number 132 machine, not able to get far enough
and pushing Chris as much as you can down turn number 5. Get as much momentum as you possibly can for the entrance.
Murchison already, if they came out of 3, was able to open up about 2.5 car lengths. That is still easily within the draft of these cars. And we'll see here, and I think you're right on there. Chasm's got to push. He can't fight for position early on. And you already know Jordy Fuhrman, he's going to sit back and assess the situation. He probably doesn't want to lose any ground to John Hotz, though. We know how aggressive the driver of the 63 machine can be here, and now running wide and dropping wheels. That was Zach Augustine into 12, and he gathers that car back up. Augustine running in 6th as our leaders now come into turn 10 in the left corner onto the front straight. Colin Murchison will lead the field to the line to complete the first lap, and he's like a snake. He's bringing them all the way over to driver's right, then moving them back over to driver's left, and they head down towards turn 1.
Yeah, I just don't think anybody from Kelly to Jordy is all basically close enough to really create a good draft and everything, but they caught a lot of time to in the braking zone. Colin possibly maybe just slow up that forward a little bit, start conserving your tires and getting this race 20 laps. It's a long race. But don't forget, this was the weekend last year. We saw a 7-car pack, basically a big 7-car battle for the lead, where they were all nose to tail for the entire time.
All right, and just confirmed 3 drivers that did not take the restart of the race. Richard Spicer in the 15, yesterday's race winner at Monroe, Maryland. Jay Bidrum in the number 88, and Steven Bidrum in the 07 car. So it is a 14-car field here for another 18 laps.
Chris Kelly really starting to get close to the back end there of Murchison. Interesting to see if he decides to maybe pull out, make a move, try to get around him, but I don't think he will, because you don't want to let Colin gain a lot of ground from a bump draft, as I see that Jordy's right tucked up under the bumper there of Gareth Chasm for 3rd.
All right, a little bit further behind. We saw there that group 5 right at the front, and then it is, it's a pretty long way now back, actually 6 up in front of Zach Augustine, I think towards the very back of the pack, and then about another 25 car lengths back to Chase Kovach with Parker Bowden, Shane Butler, and Richard Ferry right along with them here, but there is a huge gap there back to the top 6.
Yeah, the gap though from the Augustine to the Kovach machine is 5 seconds there, and a lot of those Kovach, Bowden, and Butler, they're all basically separated by about a good length to each other, so that's not what the spot you want to be in, because they're just going to lose this front pack more than they already have. It looks like the Hotz machine is going to fall back just a little bit as he came into turn number 3, though. But again, one of these guys battled it closer that this 6 would possibly be together.
All right, Chris Kelly taking a quick look to the inside, the driver's left. I think he's noticed the pattern, and I've noticed it too. Here, David, as Colin Murchison comes down the hill out of the chute, he has, in order to open up turn 5 and carry as much speed through there as possible, he's got the car almost 3/4 of the way over to driver's right, and it leaves a huge chasm to hold driver's left going down into the braking zone of turn 5, and more importantly, for the drivers behind, especially if they want to take advantage of it, it allows them to carry a lot more speed, get on the brakes earlier, or probably get on the brakes later than the 5.
Yeah, and just see what Chris Kelly can do there as he starts to study what Colin Murchison does. Maybe start trying to pick where, you're way stronger than him, where you can make those passing opportunities work. So it's, again, still early on. You're going to have a lot of time to try and find those spots. You almost have to time these passes very perfectly, because if you don't time it right, you can really lose a lot of spots and a lot of time, especially when the top 6 are all right together to the tail.
Indeed, and David, before we had our first race of the weekend, yes, when you and I were talking, you had been discussing with a driver in this race, we're not going to say who he is, that was lamenting that perhaps he
it's just, you know, he's had a lot of good showings though this year. We've seen he's works a lot on the sim, uses as much as he can. Did really well at VIR. Like I said, he was a little bit shocked with how close he was to Jordy Fuhrman and how long they kind of. Jordy Fuhrman's gone to VIR a handful of times, not the right times he's been with MARRS years they've gone. But with Chris Kelly though, he was very close to it the entire time. So just made that little mistake there at the end when he was down the hall. He just got a little too overconfident with the grip and, you know, expected to find some more grip on that outside lane when he got the arm. But yeah, Chris Kelly, I mean, he's been at the front all weekend here, especially here at some point back in the March weekend. He had a 6th and 3rd place run, VIR the 3rd and 2nd, and then 3rd both weekends in June. So, and then NJMP got his first win of the season in the feature race, and that second race that doesn't count towards points, unfortunately, got that win as well. So.
All right, so Jordy Fuhrman, it looked like he was taking a quick look to the inside of Arif Chasm, drivers up as they came out of 2 going into turn 3. I noticed this a little bit earlier that Fuhrman may possibly think that Chasm might not have the pace. There you go. Fuhrman throwing it down the inside. I told you to look for that there, as we'll see he's going to be trapped to the outside. He may not be able to make up the position indeed. Let's see as they come through. Chasm is able to hold Jordy Fuhrman off, and it really put Fuhrman in a bad position because he had to go the long way around turn 6A, 6B. And now going wide, Zach Augustine running through the grass in turn 8. That's going to take him out of touch with our leaders. What was a group of 6 is now 5, as Zach Augustine all in a place all by himself.
Yeah, just that slight little mistake there, as it looks like we're going to have a move here. It looks like Jordy Fuhrman right on the back end, going to be pushing Arif Chasm down the front straightaway, going to try to get by Kelly and Murchison, as Kelly has been trying to go with him. He's going to move to the outside. Colin Murchison on the inside, 2 by 2 as they head down turn number 1.
And as they go through, interesting move there is both of the red cars, Chasm and Fuhrman, moved over to driver's right, and then had Chris Kelly go to defend that because those 2 cars might have been able to push right past the yellow 132. Then when Kelly moved back over to driver's left, you had Jordy Fuhrman following through in the hopes of getting around the 98 car. Neither worked out as I think Fuhrman planned here, as they go down and they're right back to where they were when they came out of turn 10 just a few moments ago.
Yeah, kind of the gaps were opening just a little bit there as they all go back into turn 5. It all tightens up again, but that's kind of what you don't want to do, though. You don't want to allow Colin to get these leads. But some guys think they have the better car, they should be in front of the other, and it's just going to create those games of losing momentum with each other.
All right, a little bit further back in the field, we're looking there over at, let's see, I think we had Richard Ferry, Parker Bowden, and Jim Roberts, who did bring the car back out, and Ferry taking a look there to the inside of Bowden. They got the pass done here now as a little brief breakaway with Murchison and Kelly. I think the important thing here, David, is they have not, they've been moving around and trying to figure out a way how to leapfrog one another and maintain their pace. They have not, with everything that they've tried so far, Murchison has not been able to get away and to break that draft yet. It is nowhere close to breaking it.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's basically got all these 5 are basically all their like the entire, they're almost on a rope together.
Yeah.
That where you have something like you struck back out, but immediately they're going to get pulled back in with the help of that draft. But it looks like they're all going to stay single file as they come down turn number 5. As Colin Murchison, Chris Kelly, Arif Chasm sits 3rd here. John Hodge, he's going to try to look for the 4th spot. Thought about it, file back in line behind Fuhrman.
He wasn't close enough. Here's the interesting thing in watching John Hodson, and we'll see where this changes, but it affected that move that he just made, and I think that was more just to alert Fuhrman that he could
I want to know because I'm sure it's
Is that a rhetorical question?
no, because
It's been many years.
I'm sure it's going to be more than the top 4 combined.
Probably combined.
So he's seen it all. He's probably done it all. So he knows how this could possibly go as we get towards the later stages of this race. It's not an age insult, but it's just more. He's got a lot more experience over these drivers. He's seen it before, and he knows what's going to happen possibly.
All right, tell you what. Let's jump a little bit further back. Coming out of, I think, turn 2 now, heading towards turn 3. There they are. We've got Shane Butler, Richard Ferry, and Parker Bowden. This is the battle for 8th. And then directly behind them, a little further back, Jim Roberts and Nathan Reynolds. And Reynolds takes a quick look. Reynolds has some damage there in the front of his car as well from that lap 1 front straight incident. Both Reynolds and Roberts have run their fastest laps in the race so far, because they just completed it, just did that as they come now down into turn 5.
Yeah, Jim Roberts, yesterday, as you said, started 12th originally, and then, started 12th and then finished in the 6th spot, so had a really good run in the rain. So, just a couple spots back, though, unfortunately, started originally 12th on the day, 1 spot game, but again, he has that damage that was involved in that opening incident, I'll say. So, but he's Nathan Reynolds right behind him as well. So, unfortunately, though, they're kind of next guy in front of them is Parker Bowden, who's 5 seconds ahead.
So, a lot of people may ask, well, what's the difference between SSM and Spec Miata, which we saw earlier today? SSM, 1.6 liter motors only, the earliest of what they call the NA Miatas, whereas in Spec Miata, they can be the 1.6 liter motors, the 1.8 liter motors, both with fixed timing, and then also with the variable valve timing as well, not fixed timing, but without the variable valve timing of the 99 and 2000 cars here, and they do a great job in Spec Miata trying to balance all those different types of cars across multiple series together, but here in SSM, just the earliest 1.6 liter motors, they get dyno tuned. They are really not only dyno tuned, but sealed and with very, very limited changes that you can make right down to the smart plugs that you use in these cars. And I was watching this as they come down to the 5 now, as we watch Jim Roberts and Nathan Reynolds. Reynolds, who I think got caught up in that early lap 1 incident. You watch now at the damage in the front, and it looks like both of the headlight buckets are bent up on the outer edges, opening up a pretty big gap, allowing the car to bring in, I hasten to call it cool air at this point, since it is, about 81, 82 degrees. There you go, 83 degrees, says our own personal weatherman. But that airflow in there is something that can be picked up by the air intake and possibly bring in slightly cooler air than what has been circulating underneath the hood of that car.
Yeah, absolutely. I know some of the things too. We talked about some of the spec parts they can use. They have to use the same Bowstein shocks along with the same iBox wave arms. So, yeah, basically everyone's kept very. It's kind of a little more cost effective for these drivers.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, those Bilstein shocks were part of the original Spec Miata shock package and shock and spring package. And in the past number of years, Spec Miata has moved on to a much more expensive Penske shock. But that has opened the opportunity for the SSM racers to buy the older shock packages from the Spec Miata racers.
Yeah, real quick, Spencer. Let's go back to turn number 10 as the leaders start coming into view. So you see here, we have a 2-car breakaway now. That group of 5 now becomes basically a pack of 2 with Colin Murchison and Chris Kelly breaking away, and now just about a second behind, it's John Hodson for Fearman. So don't know what happened there. Last time we saw that all 5 were together. Now Kelly and Murchison are on their own. It looks like Kelly possibly trying to make a move, but no people stay in line. Maybe just trying to take a little peek, get Murchison to look at his mirror view before some little bit of air where he goes deeper in the braking zone to miss the corner a little bit.
Exactly there. Just get him a little bit off of his game. Now as they move through, of course, John Hotz now has gotten past both Jordy Fearman as well as Arif Kazim. Kazim now falling back into 5th position as Fearman had also managed to get around the 98 machine. All right, real quick, I've got to make a couple of announcements here.
Yeah, just under halfway to go. And we're going to have 8 laps remaining in this race. It's still Murchison. He's basically led this entire race. But here we go, though. John Haas, Jordy Fuhrman. Jordy's been giving a really good bump to Haas down the front straightaway, and they are now right to the back bumper of Chris Kelly.
Yeah, exactly. That gap that was there just a lap ago, all it took was for Kelly to move out just a little bit to shade and give a bit of a challenge to the 58 car, and that brings everybody else right back into the battle again. And see what I said about John Haas being able to close up here. When he needs to, he does, and he will. As they come down the hill, and all 3 of the cars directly behind the Murchison car, they do not choose to go down the inside. I think they may be waiting a while for that move there.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked a little bit about John Haas yesterday in the SM race. When I talked to him Friday, he has basically admitted he is not a great starter, a little slow on the start. It takes a little bit to get everything up to temperature and start to get that rhythm going. But when it comes to late in the race, though, he can start to move up through the field. Right. But also during Friday testing that we have here at some point, during the morning session, he made a slight ride height adjustment to the SSM car that changed the handling just that little bit to make it a lot more comfortable.
But as opposed to racing on the bump stops possibly. All right, now moving over, Chris Kelly takes a quick look to the inside of the 58 machine, and that was a little bit of an offensive move, but he also had John Haas follow him over, and Haas now, can he push past the 58 car? There you go, new race leader. It is Christopher Kelly in the L number 132 machine. Can John Haas follow him through that fast lane? It is Murchison to the inside. He's going to go deep on the brakes. It's going to be tough coming here through the very tight turn 3. Murchison retakes the lead. John Haas now, can he sweep around the outside on these drivers? No, Jordy Fuhrman takes over 3rd.
John Haas gave him a lot of room there. He moved almost all the way to the driver's left. I think in case possibly they were going to drop a little bit more.
And swing it and end up yanking the car over the driver's left. Again, the wily veteran also with some self-preservation in mind there.
Yeah, I was going to say, you talked about his self-preservation. Now, with all this battling going on, Arif Kazim, last time he was 1.1 seconds behind Jordy Fuhrman in 4th. Kazim right to the back bumper of that 4th place car that is now John Haas.
So Haas gonna have to rethink his strategy. Does he work with Jordy Fuhrman to work past Chris Kelly, or does he have to worry about Fuhrman now pushing Chris Kelly ahead? And there you go, both Kelly and Fuhrman jump out to driver's left. Fuhrman not up to the back bumper though, the 132 as they come down. Chris Kelly though, he's gonna have to just wait, hold the brakes as long as possible to make that outer run for Murchison as difficult as possible. And now Murchison falls back into 3rd position. Getting word now, David, that perhaps the clock, although we did not see it in timing and scoring, that the clock continued to run over timing scoring. We are getting word now that the next time our racers come across the start-finish line, they will be given the 1 lap to go warning. And that is not necessarily something that Colin Murchison or Chris Kelly knew. I'll bet you now if they had crew listening to the flag, that they definitely know now. And Murchison was able to work his way back around. They're going to have to find a new way, I think, to do this in turn 1 as Colin Murchison now leads the field through the carousel again. 1 1/4 laps remaining.
Yeah, and like I said, if they have crew members on the radios that are listening to what we listen to, they will be telling you, hey, we're going to have 1 lap to go this time, or for some, they might be seeing the 1 to go board, and it's going to be really the tension's going to be ramping up here next lap.
Yeah, here we go. So coming down front straight, 1 lap remaining. Ben Foltz in the chat says super exciting, clean racing from the top 5, and he's got it here. He nailed it as they come down the front straight, heading down towards turn 1. Now Murchison goes center track to defend. Chris Kelly's able to muscle down the inside. He's got the position again. Can he position the nose of the car so that Colin Murchison can't go around the outside? Murchison drops a wheel into the dirt, but in doing so, hasn't slowed his pace down. And Murchison, he's got the advantage turn 3. He's got the lead as they come across the hill. Air Chasm dropping wheels into the gravel just ahead of John Hans. Now as they roll down into the chute, does Kelly look to the inside, David? I've been saying the position's there. He does not do it. John Hans a little too far back to make the move on Chasm. Thought about it, but not able to get that done as our leaders now come into the carousel.
Yeah, Jordy, I think he was looking to also make a move on Chris Kelly, but they all decided to stay single file though. Jordy, for Chris Kelly, he is going to have to push Chris Kelly and work with him to get by Colin Murchison. So Colin, though, it's about a car length right now between him and Chris Kelly, and then another car length from Kelly to Jordy Fuhrman now.
All right, our leaders now heading up the hill. There you go. They just adjusted our timing and scoring. And our leaders now coming around the final corner onto the front straight. Colin Murchison, your pole sitter. Can he pull this race off as he comes over driver's right to hold off Chris Kelly? And as they come to the line in the checkered flag, Colin Murchison takes the win in the feature race. Chris Kelly will finish second. Jordy Fuhrman will finish third. Chasm fourth. John